the Disney Discord podcast live with Graeme and
Bernardo from the Main Street News. Welcome, everyone.
this is going to be a show. We have some very exciting information, and unlike most of our information, which usually we make up on the spot or it's from rumors, this is actually confirmed, announced, developed. These are real things. Like, you're going to be able to touch these
this
things.
is happening.
This is exciting
this is
stuff.
happening. It is.
Now, we're obviously not the first podcast that's come out after the D23 Expo, which was interesting for us. I think we sat up at it was 3 a.m. for me, and I think I got to bed about 6:30. What about you, Bernardo?
Yeah. No, it was the same. It was the same for me. So I was actually only began sleeping at around 6:30 a.m. So it was a very short night, with a lot of work the next morning with the Lion King updates and all that stuff. So it was a very exciting weekend for sure.
It was an exciting weekend and a lot was announced. Now, if you want to follow along live, we are on a Discord channel. And you can join the Disney Discord channel, which is our little channel where we share news, reviews, rumours, nonsense, pictures, anything. We give out hints and tips as well. They might be terrible. But you can join us. And the magical thing about this podcast is we record it live. So right now there's a bunch of people. There's about 9-10 people in the podcast just now. And you can throw things in the comments, or you can join us on stage and you can rattle off if you like to as well. But we're going to start the first section of tonight. We're going to start, and it's one of our communities called the D23 News Community on Discord. And we actually have an agenda tonight, which is so rare for us. So
very rare.
First thing, the first thing that came out of D23 is D23 trolled everyone with a near 20-minute solid intro of the 19,000 albums of Alice in Wonderland. Which nobody enjoyed, not a single soul enjoyed. And then we moved on to the park news, which I thought this was really interesting because I thought it was going to be a hint. The first person that told us to buckle up was Patrick, and it was Patrick from Soaring. And for those who don't know, Patrick is the lead flight attendant on Soaring, and he sort of tells you to buckle up and get ready for the show. So Patrick appears on screen, and he tells us to buckle up for D23. And I don't know about you, but I thought there's going to be some Soaring news here.
Yeah, spoiler alert, there weren't any. But it was a nice callback to the Soaring pre-show. They also got the Mickey Ears guy to come back. So overall, it was a pretty cute start for what was the park's presentation, I guess. But I wish we did get a Soaring announcement for Disneyland Paris, seeing it's one of my all-time favorite attractions. But yeah, we did not. Either way, we did get a lot of stuff. You think you? Oh, okay.
I think there was a secret.
The Phantasmic part of the the podcast?
Yeah, the Phantasmic part of the show, yeah. So, here's my theory. We've been told, and there's conflicting information on this, but there is a rumour that exists just now, and there is confirmation that exists, that at least temporarily, that the Disney Junior Dream Show is being cancelled.
Yeah.
Now, the Dream Factory, as I should call it, I should give it its real name, Disney Junior Dream Factory, the show hall that it inhibits is actually probably where you could put Soaring. And I think you drew the map or something that was showing that actually was where Soaring was supposed to be.
Yes, indeed. Soaring, it should be on in Walt Disney Studios, according to some old plans that never came to fruition.
Well, I think that it's in the right place in Walt Disney Studios. It has a really high ceiling. It's probably the only building that's probably high enough to do Soaring. And I think that for not an awful lot of money, Disneyland Paris could ram Soaring in there and add an extra ride. I'm convinced this could be a thing. And I think we've discovered it by mistake.
Okay, so I wouldn't say no to that, of course. But I mean, sure, sign me up.
I think this is a hidden. You heard it here first. Rumor The Dream Factory's going and Soaring may be coming. I think we're gonna bring this one into existence. So
Yeah,
yeah.
we'll
In
force
the chat,
Disney into building it. Yeah.
that's what we're gonna do. In the chat, WDW Central says that D23 was cool and there were some great announcements, some mixed ones, and outright horrible news that's going to destroy the parks. And Mickey Mouse, or Mikey Mouse, I should say, there were far too many musical performances. Fully agreed. At 6 o'clock in the morning, there were far too many songs and dancing for my liking. We moved on from obviously Patrick opening the show. Bernardo was actually in charge for the Discord and keeping the D23 news up to date, and then he gave up halfway through and just ended up watching the show. So this,
I was just too tired. I could not continue
so I
doing
just
that.
want
I was
I
just
just want
too
you to know
tired.
that some of us did not give up. Some of us stayed with you the whole night and brought you the news. So the first thing that came up was Avatar is coming to Disney's California Adventure. That was the first big
Yeah.
piece of news that we got. And this may not be in order because, of course, me and Bernardo are terrible at actually doing things in order. So it should. Memory recalls it was the first piece of news.
Yeah, I think so
Um,
too. And it wasn't really news. You know, we've heard about this for, I believe, a year now. So we did get a first look at the ride itself with new concept art and a new look at the land, which gave us a much clearer look at how they're going to tie into the new Avatar movies, compared to Animal Kingdom's version, which is tied into only the first movie of the Avatar franchise. So I'm very excited to learn more about this ride. And since you already brought it up, the boats. So it's going to be a boat ride. The boats. Uh, the boats are supposed to be the technology from Shanghai Disneyland Parts of the Caribbean, which is absolutely fantastic. So Graham, why won't you explain to us why you were laughing about boats? Is there
well, there
anything?
is there is something in particular, and thank you WDW Central again for saying if you look closely at the concept art, it shows what looks to be the former Hollywood and Vine. And I know we're on a slight
Ooh.
delay there. Um, yes, so boats. We're going to cover this later in the podcast. However, we went from having in Disney's New Adventure World, which is the Walt Disney Studios in Paris. We went from having Galaxy's Edge, Frozen, in the Avengers campus, to having Galaxy's Edge rather abruptly and rudely removed from the park for what my first controversial take of the entire show will be a very mediocre film about lions and some elephants and a meerkat and things that got in the road and sung a song. And somehow we're getting a Splash Mountain clone with 3 seats that effectively tells the story of the Lion King. An absolute boring ride that's replaced what could have been the greatest space adventure ever. And somehow we've put it in a boat that goes alongside another story that's also told in a boat about some trolls and some princesses in Norway or something. And now, and it's not exclusive news, I can see the chat's really warming up because people like the Lion King, of course they do. But anyway, we've got the Rapunzel boat that we're getting as a flat ride, which isn't a boat ride, but it's a spinner ride that's designed to look like a boat at the edge of the lake. So if you're going to Disney's Adventure World, what you're going to get is a boat, and a ride pretending to be a boat. So I mean, we're already like getting 3 boats. I mean, I don't think they've thought about this. I do not think they thought, hang on, wait a minute. We've got this great new expansion, and yeah, we've put a lake in. We should put something cool in there, and they've went, all right, cancel Star Wars because too many people will like it, and instead let's get the Lion King from 30 years ago and shove a boat ride in there. And that's what they've done. Nobody's going to ride it in January. Nobody's going to ride it in February or December because it's going to be a Frozen boat. You're going to have literally the themed Frozen boat, and then you're going to have the Frozen, the experience the boat, and then you're going to have the spinner that is a boat. So that's why I laughed when you said the first announcement of the night was a boat, because it was foreshadowing the rest of the night. Because let me tell you, everyone on the podcast, There are boats coming. If you do not like nautical themes, you'd be better just not going to Disney anywhere
Yeah,
in the
in the
world
next
for the next little
5,
while.
6, 7 years. Yeah.
Now,
So we'll get to the Lion King. I'll have completely different views on the Lion King.
no doubt.
Because it wouldn't be fun if it didn't happen like that. But we can move on to the next one. Do you have anything to say about Avatar, or can we move on
I
to
was
the next?
we can move on, but my final thought on it is I think it's really cool, if not a
Mhm.
little surprising, that Avatar Land for California Adventure is not just Pandora. Like I am
Yeah.
shocked that it's not just the same one.
So you thought they were just going to duplicate the same land from
I don't think
everything
they were going to
and
duplicate the land. Yeah, but I thought the ride would be identical.
okay.
I genuinely was quite surprised when they were like, "Oh, and I know it had been rumored,
Yeah.
but it definitely didn't seem like it would be a boat.
Hmm.
And I don't think I imagined, and it wasn't in my mind that we were going to get Shanghai's boat ride, which isn't actually a boat ride, but has boats, as you'd imagine.
Yeah, I guess. Well, so we can now move on to the second ride of the evening, which is, and you guess it, another boat ride, now themed
Yep,
to Coco,
the
the
Coco boat
the
ride.
instant classic Pixar Disney Pixar movie. So yeah, I was not expecting a Coco dark ride boat ride hybrid this D23, and it really surprised me. What are your thoughts on the Coco Boat ride?
Yeah, boat. No, I like Coco, and the sort of experience Coco has done really well at Disneyland Paris. It was first introduced, I think, in oh, now you're testing me, but about 2019, maybe 2018, 2019, we done the festival of, is it the Festival of the Dead or the something? It's something like that. You
Uh,
know, the sort of Coco look. I'm sure it's the Festival of the Dead. Somebody will tell me in the chat very
yeah,
quickly.
in the
Um,
Halloween decorations in
yeah,
Frontierland. Is that what you're talking about? Yeah,
yeah.
okay.
So they done that in Frontierland, and they done that for the Halloween season, and they done it for Halloween night, and I think it played very very well. And then obviously we got the Coco snack stop thing, um, quick service in Disneyland Paris, and I think that done very well, which replaced Fuente del
Hmm.
Oro. Is it still
Yes.
called Fuente del Oro? It maybe
No, it's
is.
now called Casa de Coco,
Well, there you go.
el
So yeah,
restaurante de familia.
there you
That's
go.
that's
So
that's the name.
you got that, and I think it's always done really well. And I think there was a lot of people taking photos. You had an awful lot of people that were interested in the Coco franchise. So it always worked quite well. And I'm not surprised to see a Coco like
Hmm.
attraction coming out of it. And I think it's probably overdue. I think many people would
Yeah, I
like
think
to
so too.
see.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that, and it is, it's something that just looks so good, and it'll work so well in that park. So I'm not surprised. I'm not surprised. It looks colourful. It definitely looks like going to use sort of like black light and UV and stuff. I think it's going to be
Hmm.
a fantastic
Hmm.
ride. It is going to be a boat, so of course it's going to be a
Yeah, and
boat.
I can see the animatronics look very good, representing the what we saw in the films. So I'm very excited for this particular ride because Coco is one of my all-time favorite Pixar movies. It's just
I've never
so
seen
good,
it.
and the music. You've never seen Coco? Well, you
I
definitely
knew you were
should.
going to. I knew you were going to say that when.
You definitely should. You definitely should. It's just so well done. It's such a cute movie. It really hits all the right spots, and yeah, I'm very excited to see how they turn that movie into a family boat adventure in Disney, California Adventure. So yeah.
Indeed, indeed. If we're going by the timeline on our D23, this is where I think we diverge, but we'll dip into it just now anyway. This is not a boat ride. We're going to cover now an all new nighttime spectacular at Disneyland Park in Paris.
Yes, so we can definitely do that. And yeah, so it has been maybe not rumored, but thought that Disney was working on a new nighttime spectacular for the Disneyland park in Paris for some time now. We saw those ED92 pictures that
Hmm.
where they were testing new projection scenes on the castle. Some I think it was in April. I could be mistaken. So they're definitely working on a new nighttime spectacular, and I think it's going to be amazing. We haven't had a new nighttime spectacular made specifically for Disneyland Paris since Disney Dreams in, I believe, 2012.
Well,
So
that maybe not true because we did have Illuminations, but Illuminations, despite Disneyland Paris denying it, had many of the
yeah,
scenes from Shanghai.
yeah, it was a smaller version of the Shanghai show, just slapped onto the Sleeping Beauty castle, and some different music, too, but still, it was the same show. So this one is being specifically made for Disneyland Paris, or so we
Hmm.
think and hope, I guess. And in the concept art, we can see that they will include drones. So it's going to be the
Hmm.
first time drone technology is implemented on a daily nighttime spectacular. So not a pre-show like Disney Electrical Sky Parade or the 30th anniversary stuff. And I mean, you could call the Disney Dreams That Soar in Disney Springs a nighttime spectacular, but that's not inside a Disney park. So, I think we can call this the first nighttime spectacular, or projection show with drones, and I think that's awfully exciting. And it's coming in January, so not a long wait from now.
No, it's not. It's not.
Very
Well,
excited to see it.
what I could tell from the concept art, and again, concept art's just concept, so
Yeah.
you have to be careful. There's some high level fireworks there, which are quite rare in Disneyland Paris. They have the drones integrated into the show, and it certainly looks like Stitch's Star Cruiser has flames coming off the back of it. So I think we're going to see drones with fireworks again. We can
Hmm.
see a multitude of. It's almost like the animated classics. Like there's an awful lot of animated movies in there. So I think there's going to be heavy on that. There's no water element present in the concept art, so I don't know if the fountains are going to be. They will be long overdue refurbishment, so they may come
Hmm.
later. But there doesn't appear to be any water in the presentation. But the thing that
Yes.
took me, and this could just be me guessing, but it looks like glow with the show technology is back because the audience is very deliberately
Okay.
lit up as
Yes.
well.
I did notice that too, and I was very interested in making sure what that was. But unfortunately, if you look close enough, I think it's just the reflection of the fireworks and the projections on their faces and stuff. I could be wrong, and
I hope
these
you're
could
wrong.
be, yeah, me too. I truly do. But these could be maybe the what they call it, the Magic Band Plus, which
Hmm.
now has the same technology.
Hmm.
I honestly love that. But once again, I don't think it is, unfortunately.
I just think that I got to go and see the Taylor Swift the Eras tour, and it wasn't
Yeah.
it was my girlfriend's choice to go and watch Taylor Swift the Eras tour, and that had everybody got a band when they went in. That was just what
Hmm.
happened,
Yeah, yeah.
and the effect of seeing the whole crowd lighting up and glowing with the show, and there was something special about that I don't know. It just felt like it could be something that added to the experience. So I'm quite
Hmm.
hopeful that could be a thing. The other thing, did we not? Is this not the first show that's going to project along Main Street as well?
It is. It is the first Disneyland Paris show that's gonna have Main Street facade projections, and
Se-
this will fix.
second, but they forgot the first one.
What was it?
The very first one they done a Christmas show, and they projected onto Main Street on the Christmas show. Not the whole of Main Street, but they done the hub, and they done flashing colours halfway up Main Street. They also done it for the Halloween with just colours and sort of very simple projections. I think this is the first maybe
Huh.
properly projection mapped
Yeah,
show, but
you're
it's
right.
not their
Yeah, yeah.
first by any stretch of the imagination. So
Yeah,
again,
yeah, yeah, you're
Disneyland
right.
Paris sometimes just forget that they've done some of this, but they're like, "Oh, this is the first time we've ever done it," and the fans are like, "No, it's not. Like we were here. Like." The interesting thing is, if they do bring Globe of the show again, we've already had it. It was called Light Years. So
Yes.
we've already tried it. The problem you had with Light Years is it was 25 euros for the hat, and it was a very uncomfortable hat. So it wasn't, they never really got it right. Where Taylor Swift had it in just literally a little band that looked as though it cost like $2 or something. And
Yeah.
I think if they could get to that, it would work. So just to quickly review the comments, WDW Central says that he believes the fountains were explicitly mentioned in the press article. I don't have the press article open. I'm doing this from my memory, so I don't know if I can't confirm or deny. But hopefully, they do have the infrastructure for fountains, so it wouldn't be too much of a surprise. Dark
Mm.
Fighter Jaron says, "I'm especially glad with the new show that Main Street is also getting projections. I hope it helps with the flow of the guests, spreading them more evenly over the street instead of bumping to get as close to the castle." I suspect they are still going to bump into each other.
I think so too. I think so too. But people will probably be more spread out. I hope that'll be the
The
case. And I
one,
think Disney is doing this. They're investing in these projectors because of that. It's a big problem with all the kids on the shoulders. Sometimes fights break out in the middle of the park, which is ridiculous. And
Mhm.
I think they're trying to, you know, test how they could fix this. And I think I mean, it's a great way to test it because projections down Main Street will look fantastic. And
It's
I'm
also
glad
good
we're
for
getting them.
it's also good for fans like us because once you've seen the show a couple of times, it's quite nice not to have to try and get in at the hub to see it and be able to
Exactly.
just hang
Exactly.
out at the back. I think there's a great rewatchability thing. Like you might not watch it every
Hmm.
night if you
Hmm.
have to push and get trampled, and now you have
Yep,
the
for
ability
sure.
to. So I think there's that. They also probably have the ridiculous sort of situation that the Lake Show now isn't coming until we're hearing like 2025, 2026. And if it doesn't come until middle of the year 2026, they're going to struggle to keep people in the
Yep.
Disneyland park occupied. So I kind of get that.
Hmm.
Bastion
Yep.
joins us with Disneyland Paris be like, wow, this is the first boat ride we're ever going to build. Yes, that is exactly how Disneyland Paris see this sort of thing. So
Yeah,
it was exciting. That was the first bit of news that came out of D23 for Disneyland Paris. It was certainly a good start.
it was. And after that, we got a brand new nighttime parade at the Magic Kingdom, which is fantastic. I know how much you love nighttime parades, so
I
go
do.
ahead. Go ahead and
I,
just
I mean,
do it.
this is something. So if I think back to like when I was a child, when I first went to Disney, I think I was maybe 11 or 12.
Hmm.
And the thing that stuck in my mind the most was the Main Street Electrical Parade. And we watched it, I think we watched it in Frontierland at the Magic Kingdom. And it
Okay.
was just incredible. The Baroque Hoedown soundtrack, it was a long parade. It was, I think there was about 20 floats in it. There was lots of people loved it. People were dancing, people were singing. It was something I'd never seen before. A lot of people have now seen, most parks now have a parade. So Universal has a parade. Even the parks in the UK occasionally have a character parade. It's nothing huge, but the parades are not new during the day. People have them, galas, summer fairs, they have parades. It was the first time I had seen this. Wow, the
Hmm.
music's in sync with the units. It was the first time that you had all the twinkling lights. It was certainly a lot cooler at night. It was so spectacular to see. And then I think you've got the Main Street Electrical Parade, just incredible. I've never seen Spectral Magic. I've seen the videos of Spectral Magic, but I've never seen Spectral Magic in person. Then Illusion was incredible. I think Tokyo's Dreamlights was incredible, which again I've never seen it in person. And Paint the Night was absolutely spectacular. And I think Paint the Night really set what a night parade can look like.
Yeah.
And just to hear that not only are they not creating a reprisal of Paint the Night, but someone is actually going out there to create a whole new nighttime experience. There's some rumors going around now that, Baroque Hoedown will be at least integrated into the main song, so you can already tell there's going to be that sort of electro sort of magic. Do I have
Yeah,
some
yeah.
concerns? Yes. So, the concept art, the initial concept art looks really good. But some of the follow-up pieces of art that we've seen look a bit bland. But night parades are really hard to get. I mean, the Main Street Electrical Parade artwork is terrible. It's not. It's not until it physically rolls out and then Baroque Hoedown starts playing and people start like cheering that you
Yeah.
really feel how magical a nighttime parade is. So I would warn everybody. We've got in the comments WDW Central saying that the Encanto float looks bland when compared to Disneyland's, and JoJo saying that night parades are so magical, and Paint the Night was incredible. Just remember that the concept art, even for the Disney Electrical Sky Parade, does not give it does not give you a
No, it
sense of how
doesn't.
magical it is. And the other
Yeah.
stupid bad thing about night parades is they're terrible to photograph. The videos and photos just don't show you the sort of light shining and the balls of light and the way your eye sort of paints
Yeah,
the
and in a
parade.
way, in a way, the drone shows are the same. So it's fun how both Disney electrical parades on the sky and on the ground kind of have the same problem. Just
Yeah.
a fun little.
So I just think that when we look at concept art, we have to rein it in and just remember we've never had a bad nighttime parade.
Yeah.
Nobody says like, Tokyo loved Dreamlights, everybody loves Paint the Night, everybody loves Main Street Electrical Parade, everybody loved Spectral Magic, everybody loved Phantom Illusion. There are no nighttime parades that anybody goes, no, please don't bring that back. Like the Main Street Electrical Parade's like 100 years old or some rubbish now. And it's not quite 100. But it still rolls and people still turn up. Like it's had about 8 going away celebrations, but someone plugs a new battery in and on it goes, and
Yeah.
you know, just
True.
incredible. So I'm very excited. I think the Magic Kingdom richly deserves one. I think the Magic Kingdom will be better for it. The Magic Kingdom is absolutely dreadful at getting out at night, and I think if they're going to run several parades, that it will help ease the amount of people try to leave the park at the same time. The other, and my final thought on this, and sorry, I know I've gone on,
Yeah, no, go ahead.
is that I think the magic of a nighttime parade doesn't necessarily have to be a 20 float long full ensemble parade. And I would beg that the powers that be can learn from the Electrical Sky Parade and they can learn from the night parades that we have. And even a 5 to maybe 10 car cavalcade that
Yeah.
went a couple of times during the night would just be an incredible addition to a park that you have an awful lot happening on Main Street with the Main Street vehicles and in the hub during the day. And that's when you get things like Ready for the Ride and, the monkey sees in me. What is it we call it? The monkey sees in me.
The
Yeah.
monkey seizing me, yeah.
Yeah, what's the
Exactly.
monkey see me? That's when you get that sort of magic. At night time, once it goes dark, and it goes dark early in Paris for most of the year, so it's very dark from 5-6 o'clock onwards. It would just be incredible to have a small cavalcade, 5 floats, just firing out at every couple of hours, and giving you that injection of the Main Street Electrical Parade or Paint the Night or something
Yeah.
cool. So I
Yeah, I
think
agree.
there's a bit we could do there, and I don't think it would necessarily cost the world. It doesn't need to be a full scale parade. Like it's cold. People don't stand for 2 hours watching yet another thing in Main Street. but a cavalcade people run to and kind of engage with.
Yeah, completely agree
Jojo,
with you there.
Jojo's put um, that part. That's the part that makes those parades and exactly those drone shows so magical. You have to experience it in the moment to fully grasp the magic. Trying to preserve it for later is tricky, so enjoy that special moment. And I fully agree. Night parades are a differentiator for Disney because it's something you have to see in real life because you cannot watch it on TV and think that was as good as real life. And I think,
Hmm.
a normal parade, I'm not convinced that Disney Stars and Parade isn't the same as it is if you watch it on some well produced videos.
Yeah, I
But
guess.
but the night parade definitely you cannot capture that.
Yeah, no,
What do you think
completely.
about the night parade?
I think it's amazing. One of the first, as you said, the night parade kind of infuses in your brain because one of the first memories I have from going to Walt Disney World was, we went to the hotel late at night and we just rushed to the Magic Kingdom for a couple of rides, and the Main Street Electrical Parade was going on at that exact moment as we walked in. And so that was, one of the first images that comes to mind. And I was quite young when we went for the first time, and it's one of the images that's infused in my brain, and it's quite amazing because how simple, well, not so simple, but how a parade can do it. Because I'm very not a parade person. I enjoy parades, but I'm not going to stand for an hour wait for a parade. It's just not happening. But a nighttime parade, just as you said, it's just special, and I'm very excited to see how they bring that kind of magic alive in 2025. So the technology has evolved quite a bit since the first Main Street Electrical Parade, and I'm very excited to see how they build a new magical night parade. So yeah,
Okay, do you want to lead
and
us into our next topic? Because this is
yeah,
this
we
is right up
can.
your street. This is right up your street, and I know
It
this is the
is.
sort of thing
It
you'll
is.
love. Walt, A
Yes.
Magical Life has been announced for Disneyland Resort.
Yes, so Walt Disney will be brought back to life, I guess, via a animatronic. It'll be the first Walt Disney animatronic in the world, and Disney has said it's going to be the most lifelike, the most real animatronic they've ever made. There's been some rumors about this for a while, and it's actually happening. It'll come to Disneyland in 2025, and it will replace the Lincoln show for a while. So great moments with Mr. Lincoln. And yeah, so Walt Disney, A Magical Life, truly something I was not expecting Disney to do. Mostly because if they don't do it right, I feel like it'll completely miss the mark. But if they do it just right, it can be an amazing thing. And yeah, so that's it. That's it. I'm very, very looking forward to see how they bring Walt alive here at the Opera House in Disneyland.
I think it's I think it's a very interesting thing to do, and it's dangerous for their reputation, but it's one of those wonderful things that I think Walt Disney sort of strived for audio animatronics, and he liked the Mr. Lincolns, and he liked the US presidencies, and he enjoyed that sort of thing. And I think that the
Hmm.
ultimate tribute to Walt would probably being an audio animatronic of himself, and I think he'd quite like that. I get the feeling that Walt Disney would really, really like that.
Yeah.
Keep in mind that they've portrayed Walt Disney before, so I forget the name of the movie, but it's Tom Hanks and it's about Mary Poppins and it's about Walt Disney making the Mary Poppins movie.
Hmm.
Um, and in that, Saving Mr. Banks, thank you, Jojo, for the quick save in the chat. Jojo is like our researcher here. She keeps control of all the nonsense that
Or
I spout and
Wikipedia.
reminds, yeah, like mobile Wikipedia just reminds me I've got it completely wrong all the time. Um, Saving Mr. Banks, Tom Hanks plays Walt Disney, and I've got to say that Tom Hanks nailed Walt Disney there, and I
Yeah.
know that wasn't by mistake. I know the Disney company were very, very protective of that, and
Hmm.
they made sure that um, he was represented well, and that included things like cigarettes and his policy on not being seen with
Yeah.
one in your mouth and stuff. And I think that they're not gonna. I mean, in his home resort at Disneyland, they're not gonna screw up the Walt Disney animatronic. Like
Yeah, I
that's
don't
just
think so
not
either. Yeah. Hmm.
that's not going to happen. That's not. I mean, if they do, it'll be hilarious. Because people will go wild about it. One of my favorite actors was in that as well. Bradley Whitford, who plays Josh Lyman on the West Wing, was also in that, and I really enjoy
Oh
Bradley
yeah.
Whitford's acting. It was very good. So, the Walt Disney animatronic, which is a lot of people very, very happy about that. Not an expensive upgrade. The interesting thing is Disneyland got almost nothing announced, and this seems like a big thing, but actually, on the scale of investment and such, it's quite small. Like this is
Hmm.
not a big
Yeah,
investment.
true. It's not. I
Um,
mean, the figure itself is costing a couple of millions at least.
yeah,
But I mean, when we're talking about new rides and stuff, those do not come under 100 million,
yeah.
and that's
So it's
that's the minimum. So
figuratively, it's nothing that they're spending on it. So it's kind of
yeah.
incredible that way. That some of the coolest attractions are the ones that will probably excite the fans the most, probably cost the least. We'll come
Hmm.
on to pricing later on in the show, but we need to start making some progress. And that comes in the form of Adventure Bay Lake, which is
Does
the
it?
new. Well, according to my notes, it does. Um,
Okay, yeah. Yeah, go
and
ahead.
it's the
Oh
fountain
yeah,
show
the
that
nighttime. Yeah, yeah. The nighttime
we've
show.
got. Yeah, the nighttime show. Remember that?
So
So we're
we've
getting
got
the night.
Phantasmic, everyone.
Yes, well, this came as a severe disappointment to me. I'm not gonna lie. Um, I was absolutely gutted that we did not get Phantasmic announced. Now, I'm not deflated because I'm not convinced we're not getting Phantasmic. Okay?
Oh my
So
God. Okay.
yeah,
So,
you're gonna love
okay.
this. I'm not convinced that this isn't just a warm up for when we do get Phantasmic, because I'm convinced Phantasmic is coming. It's just, you know,
Well, the new
it's
the new version of Phantasmic has a Moana sequence. Okay,
well
so I
there you
just
go.
I just want to throw that in. I just want to throw that in.
Yeah, but you would, I mean, surely you would announce that your new spectacular was going to be Phantasmic if it was going to be Phantasmic.
Well, yeah, I think so.
Like, mind you, Disneyland Paris can't help themselves but screw certain announcements up. So,
Oh, we'll definitely get into that later. Yeah.
yeah. So, we've got the new nighttime show, which is around the lake. I don't think that's a surprise to anyone. It certainly looks like there's tiered seating on it. It looks like we're going to have fountains, we're going to have them pulsing. There's definitely drones. Um, the
There's water
audience
drones,
Well,
which
they're just
is
boats.
the. But are they? Because
Well, a
I
water
think that
drone
could
is a
be
boat.
well, but they could be drones with the light stuff that you can find in the normal drones, but just underwater.
Yeah, but we just
Could
called
be
them
a new
arse.
version.
They were just radio controlled boats before. We didn't call them radio controlled drones. We didn't like this drone boat thing is nonsense. It's a boat.
Oh, but but they could also be those larger boat style from. Do you remember the Rivers of Light in Animal Kingdom, which had
Oh, the
those?
barge things. Yeah,
Yes, those could. I mean, those could possibly be drones too. Just automated barges, I guess. And but they call it drones for some reason. They are
yeah.
going to be exclusive to this show, as said by Jonases. So I don't know what they're gonna bring out, honestly. But I'm very excited to
Maybe
see it.
maybe they're drones that land in water.
Oh, okay. That could be interesting.
Well, anyway, I'm
I
still
really don't know.
convinced
Yeah.
that this show, once it becomes Phantasmic, will be better. So not to worry about that,
Once
and
it
it will
becomes.
happen. It will happen, so we don't need
Oh,
to worry
okay,
about it too
okay.
much. It's coming. Don't
Okay.
worry, everybody. It is coming. Then let's move swiftly on. We
So yeah,
it's on the same topic. It is effectively the same topic, but it's
it is.
behind the drone boat show in the lake that isn't Phantasmic, and that is the very boring Kingdom of Frozen that's coming.
Well,
Bernardo,
yes. Yeah. For everyone's disappointment, the World of Frozen will not open in 2025 as previously thought, but rather 2026. Now, this did come at a bit of a disappointment for me. I was really hoping they could, speed things up and open it in the later parts of the year, but I think it makes sense for them to wait a little longer, even if the construction is all done. Because why open a land in the dead center of winter when the trees look bad and there's no greenery and everything looks awful? So why would they open it in the dead center of winter when they can just wait a couple of months, 3, 4 months for spring, and open it in a much better time of the year? Now, yes, the wait will be longer and it'll be tougher to continue our or my construction update videos, but I think it makes sense from an opening standpoint. So, what are your thoughts in this?
wasn't excited it was opening, less excited it's delayed. And I personally don't think it will be. I think it'll open in late 2025. I just don't think they always say that. I don't know why they always say that, but I think it'll be financial. It'll be fiscal 26 rather than calendar
Mhm.
26. So
Okay.
remember that fiscal 26 begins at the start of kind of like November, I believe. So I'm
Yes,
still.
yeah, okay.
I don't know. I don't see it taking that long, but it looks kind of there. Like if you look at progress, it doesn't look like it's that far away, but then you never know.
No, it
Yes.
doesn't. It looks very complete already, and it's still a long way off, of course.
Or
But I
put
mean,
or put
we're
another
in the
way,
middle of, yeah.
if it was ready, would they name a time when they've had a ride ready ever that wasn't a
Hmm.
brand new park opening where they decided not to open the land?
Mm, yeah, from the top of my head, I can't. No.
I mean, literally, the scaffolding usually comes down. The ride tests are complete, and then they just ram straight into it. Like I've never, this Disney have never waited to open anything. I just,
Well,
I don't.
funnily enough, Hong Kong's version of Frozen did take an awful lot of time to open after being completely, complete. So I don't know why they do it,
Is the
other
ride
than just.
there?
Hmm?
Like, is the ride already built? I mean, this is one of the things I know they've complete like the roofs now on it, but is the ride complete?
Oh, I don't know. I don't know. I mean, they've been working on the ride for several months now, and a lot of the theming is probably there already. Um, but I couldn't tell really.
We need somebody that works in the park to tell us what the real truth is on this Frozen ride, because it looks significantly further on. And as Bernardo said, actually, in Hong Kong, you are right. That was probably the example that I was choosing to ignore, where they did take forever. However, there is more exciting news, and I'm going to let you announce it because you are thrilled by this news,
Yes.
which
So,
is
which is like The Lion King is
indeed.
coming to Disney Adventure World to everyone's amazement, and no one was expecting this. I mean, you weren't. You said there were going to be no announcements for Disneyland Paris a couple of days
I
before
did.
the date actually.
If you're on this podcast, I was like, "There's no way they're going to announce the Lion King at D23 when Frozen still hasn't got a date or anything." And I kid you not, they decided after hearing the podcast to just ruin the podcast. So yeah, they have announced it, and it's um they've not done it
Yes,
well. I
they
mean, I mean,
no.
they've taken an announcement and absolutely punched it in the face before they sent it out, which you
No,
know,
it
top.
was they've taken I think 4 years now. They've been developing this thing.
Mhm.
So and the fact they announce it at D23 with such a huge audience, and this is a brand new rebranding of the second Disney park in Europe, and they just screw it up. It's ridiculous. So if you're not familiar with the concept art, the concept art for the ride shows the live action version of The Lion King. So the 20, no, not live action, but the 2019 version of The Lion King. And the ride is very much not going to be themed around the 2019 version of the film, but rather the animated, the classic 30-year-old version of The Lion King. And they just completely screwed the biggest announcement in, I think, 8 years. Since I think it's been 8 years, or not maybe 8 years. No, 6 years. Um, since the major expansion to the Walt Disney Studios park. So just yeah, it was just so ridiculous, and I was looking at it like, what is going on? This is not what's happening, and I do not know. I really do not know how Disney could screw this up so badly. But yeah, hmm,
It would be funny though.
it would not. It would not be funny.
It would be funny. It would be really funny if they go with the
You
2019
just like the
version.
chaos.
I would love it. I would honestly. You don't have this problem with Star Wars. Nobody says is that the 1974 Star Wars or the 2009 Star Wars. They just take it as Star Wars. It's all the same world in the end. But
Well, that was one of the bigger complaints with Galaxy's Edge. Is it's built around the sequels and not the original movies.
well, no, because they all spit the dummy when the Mandalorian turned up. Do you not
Well,
remember?
The Mandalorian's between the originals and the prequels. It's closer to the originals than the prequels. So,
I don't know why anybody gets wormed up about it. They'll put in what they want. I mean, the ride is not going to change whether or not you have the little yellow drawn Simba, or you have the 2019 Simba. You'll love it anyway. It's the same songs.
it is the
I
same
think.
songs, but
I
it's just a
think. I think
lion.
you'll need. I know you just need to chill though. Like you're very excited about this. Like everybody's very upset. I mean, I'm like, oh good, we've got a cold water ride in in a cold park on a boat that looks at a line, and we could have had Galaxy's Edge. Like I'm not.
Well, first of all, it wouldn't be Galaxy's Edge. It would be a third of the size of Galaxy's Edge and only include one ride. So
Well, it would have been the
honestly,
edge of Galaxy's Edge.
exactly, it would be the edge of Galaxy's Edge. So, I think we're actually winning here,
No, you
gaining an
got.
exclusive.
I think.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm gonna have to bear. I'm gonna have to lower your expectations as well.
Mm,
Because yes, they've announced the Lion King ride, but that might
yeah.
not be what they build.
Well, that's true. That's
I,
true.
there
They've
are no
announced.
yeah, there's
Yep.
no permits filed until they file a permit. Even then,
Yes. So next week the permits will be filed, and we'll be here talking about the permits, I guess. So Disney, since Graeme has already said there are no permits, you can just go ahead and file them all now, so we can talk in the
and
next
if you
podcast.
could change them, if you could change them just to the Avatar plan, that would be great. Graham would be very thankful. I could not. I mean,
Well,
it's not that I dislike the Lion King. So I like
mhm,
the Lion King. I like the music of the Lion King. Um, I'm not
yeah.
convinced it's an attraction that pushes the boundaries. It's just IP service. It's we've not done the Lion King ride, and the Lion King's huge. Let's do that. But we have a Lion King show, and this is what's going to bug me. The Lion King show is now in the wrong park. So we've now got Lion
Oh,
King in that part in Disneyland Park. We've not got Lion King in the Adventure World Park. It's going to annoy me because it's the same as having Toy Story Playland and then having Buzz in Discoveryland. Like it annoys me.
I think they might change the show when the land opens. Honestly, the show. How long has the show been playing there for? Like
I don't know. I don't
four
know, but
years,
it still fills every
5 years.
time.
No,
Like
it's
you,
amazing. The show's amazing. Don't get me wrong, but the ride will be a retelling of the story from the movie. So such, and the show is as well. So you have pretty much the same two stories, just different formats happening in two different parks. I don't think they'd keep the show, honestly.
well, we will see.
Yeah, we
You're
will.
right. They've got a whole reenactment of Boats the musical to do. Um, no, to be honest, do you know what would fit very well in that theater? The Chaparral Theater
Mm,
would, in the Frontierland Theater, as it's now called, would
yep.
do very well if they could do The Princess and the Frog. Like, I think that would be a really good musical show.
I was I That's been on my mind for days now. I think they should definitely do Princess and the Frog there. I think a musical show from that movie would be fantastic. Princess and the Frog has some amazing musical numbers, and
Yeah,
I think it really would have worked out very well. So let's just
yeah.
circle back, just quickly go over some of the rumors regarding the ride itself. I know you're not awfully excited about it, but let's
No,
just
let's cover them.
yeah. So first of all, the show building is huge. It's bigger than parts of the Caribbean in Disneyland Park, and it's going to be a very large scale ride. So it's not going to be a splash mountain, as JoJo said. It could be considered a beefed up version of Splash, like she said. The ride system is similar. However, the model, which shows the ride and the land much more clearly than the concept art does, and the models are normally a lot more reliable than a concept art. The model, the drop in the model, kind of similar to what Phantasialand did with Chiapas. And that ride operates during the winter, during snow. And what they do is you could pretty much operate that ride with no splashes coming to the guests riding the ride. And they can either lower the water levels or in the final splash, I believe, they can operate the ride with no water at all. So they have some brakes that do all the work.
Yeah,
And if
I think
this
Disneyland Paris are going to have to do something like that because it is going to be freezing cold.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. And parts of the Caribbean has a lot of attendance during the Christmas or the winter months as well. And I think it's going to be a very similar situation here. So it's actually the perfect system for Disneyland Paris. So in the summer you can splash guests and splash them very long. So a lot of water for those very Parisian summer days. And during the winter, you can either lower or not have water at all, and just not splash them, uh, not splash them. Um, and
Could
I
you
truly
take
do think that
could you
that's what they're going to do.
could you take us through as well? Because obviously they've announced the land. Could you take us
Yeah.
through the things that aren't just the attraction?
Yes, so Disney has announced it's going to have dining, merch, and meet and greet locations, so all including the land. The models themselves are not very clear on what is what. We see a large area, so shaded area, which I probably say it's going to be the meet and greet locations. There's a larger one, which could be the shop or a restaurant, but I do think they're going to have a restaurant inside the show building, so the main show building, similar to Pirates of the Caribbean, just because of how huge that show building is. And when I said it's bigger than Pirates, that includes the restaurant in Pirates. So the what's they call it, Captain Jack's restaurant. So that could probably be it
So it's
inside
like
the restaurant as
now that
well.
you've rode the ride with Simba, you can eat his friends.
Pretty much, yes. That's amazing. So you like Pumbaa? Here's some, some pork. I don't know what they're gonna do there, but it could have some immersive experiences like that. you know, but yeah.
I think
Uh,
this. I don't know who suggested it, but did someone not suggest releasing a lion like once a day into the park just to give everybody the attention?
yeah, yeah, yeah. I
I
think
thought
they
it was quite
did.
funny. I am excited. I think the Lion King land. I think it's going to be nice to have an additional land. I think it's really good for kids. I think it's going to be it's nice that Disneyland Paris is getting a Splash Mountain analog if it's not a copy. And
Mhm.
I think that judging by how annoyed a lot of the American people are about it, it's quite amusing. So
Yeah,
I just
yeah, yeah.
I hope they do the 2019 version just so I can watch people like have full on breakdowns about The Lion King in its 30th odd year existence. Um,
Is yeah. Well, some people
we've got
just
a
want to
couple
watch the world burn, right?
a couple of
Was it
comments
Albert?
here.
Yeah, go ahead.
We've got uh, Jojo says everybody it'll be in a way it will be a clone of Splash Mountain. It'll just be like Disney's Splash and Universal's Jurassic Park River Adventure had a baby, a beefed up version from Splash. I think that's very accurate. WDW Central 1995 Mufasa makes me cry, whereas 2019 Mufasa makes me laugh. Dark Fighter Geron says it would be a budget cut Galaxy's Edge. And then Jojo says that anything Star Wars should be moved behind Space Mountain, which is probably correct. Bastion says 4 years on, we're going to build an all new original land in Disney's Adventure World based on Star Wars. No more mention of the Lion King, probably. Um, duh, duh, duh. Lion King Splash should be in Frontierland, says John, and then Jojo says, "I'd rather have cars in our Frontierland than the Lion King. We can talk about a loop towards Adventureland on the opposite side of the Chaparral Theatre, as long as the train station and its surroundings stays." Um,
Yes,
I think
we'll
one
get
of the
we'll, we'll get we'll get to cars in Frontierland, I guess, later on. No.
yeah, we probably will. But one of the things that I want to just grab because I'll forget it by the end of this is Jojo's quite correct in saying that with these expansions and with the lake opening, there does come the possibility that the two parks could have some sort of link ride between the two of them, as we've seen in
Hmm.
Universal, in Orlando, where they have the Hogwarts Express that links the two parks together. So I think there is potential we're going to see in the future some sort of park linkage.
Yes, I would honestly adore that. I think that really, you know, raises the immersiveness of the experience. And I'm not sure what IP or what system I'd use to get people from one park to the other. But it could definitely work very well.
It
The
could.
parks are just side by side. They're actually, I think the parks are actually closer to one another than Universal Studios and Islands of Adventure.
Yeah, they are. They
So
are.
yeah, so it's
It's
a
doable.
no-brainer, honestly. Yeah.
As long as they don't do what they've done at Star Cruiser and put you in the back of a truck.
Oh yeah, that was
Um,
awful.
the next piece of news is that Dinosaur in Disney's Animal Kingdom is getting pulled out and instead will be replaced by the Indiana Jones adventure.
Yes,
Although it
it's
does say, it
it's
is
once
worth
again not a
noting,
really yeah
yeah, it's not really news, but
yeah
it does.
it's not
The bit of news we did get is it's not the same. So everybody keeps saying it's a
yeah
copycat ride, but they specifically highlighted that this is different. So
yeah they
it's
specifically say it's a new adventure from any other Indiana Jones experience around the world, and I think they had to do it because having a clone would be very underwhelming, and they can easily replicate scenes or pick up the animatronics. So a lot of the R&D is already done here. They can
yeah,
just decorate the rooms differently. I mean, the
you're
ride
gonna have
itself, the layout is, if it's not exactly the same, it's very very close to the California Indiana Jones
yeah.
ride. So there's I think they made the right call by having a new adventure here. And once again, as I've been saying a lot, I'm very excited to see what comes out from this new Indiana Jones attraction in Animal
It's
Kingdom.
childish, but I'm really excited to try and find out where they sneak a dinosaur in. Because
Yeah, that could be very cool.
they will sneak a dinosaur in. There is there's a new carousel coming to um Animal
to the
Kingdom.
to the tropical Americas. Do they still call it tropical Americas land? I
Yeah,
think they did.
yeah, the
Um, so yes, a new carousel will have the some Disney characters sculptures that look quite nice. I mean, the rides. I think the ride's a bit out of place, honestly. It's in this new area called Pueblo Esperanza. So that's cool, I guess. But the real, big e-ticket here is probably the first Encanto ride, right? Which is also
yes.
going to be in the same land, so
And what
tropical America.
just out of curiosity, what sort of ride vehicle do you think it's going to be, Bernardo?
Well, Graham, I think it's going to be a boat ride.
Oh, what a
Um,
shock. Another shock.
so shocking. Yeah, I mean, I don't think it's actually confirmed it's going to be a boat ride. I mean, it looks like it from from the concept art.
It is
But
going to be a boat. It is going to be a boat ride.
did they confirm it's going to be a boat ride though?
Well, I'm sure they confirmed it was a boat ride. I'm almost 100% certain they confirmed the boat ride.
Well, I
Yes, it's a boat ride. It is a boat ride.
okay, so
The people in the concept art are in a boat. It is a boat ride. There's water. It is a boat ride.
there's water. Okay, well, that's good to know. So another boat ride. Funnily enough, isn't this? No, it's a second boat ride in Animal Kingdom. You have the Avatar snooze fest of a ride, um, which I do not remember the name. But
Navi
either
River
way,
Journey.
yes, Navi River Journey. That's it. Um, I think this is going to be a show stealer attraction. Encanto, once again, is an amazing movie with amazing colors, and I think it's going to be great and really tie in this whole new area together. Which, let's just be honest, we're losing Dinosaur, which is a good ride. I like Dinosaur. But if you're going to Orlando for dinosaurs, you go to Universal. Universal completely won the dinosaur
I think that's why
theme.
they've done it. I think that's why they've
Yeah,
taken it out because Jurassic World was just 100 times
it's
better
just
than.
no, it's just so much bigger, and as you said, the rides there are so much better. So Disney lost the game, and they saw that they lost the game, and just we'll do something different then. And
We'll do something. Yeah.
I think that the Tropical Americas, first of all, it ties in very well with the Animal Kingdom concept of the broader, locations on Earth. So in a way, I think it actually fits in better than Dinosaur. Of course, you don't have the conservation themes, but if they do it right, and I think they really do need to have a couple of animals in the land. I'm not sure what type of animals. Capybaras would be amazing, um, but they need to have some kind of animals here to truly tie in perfectly with the park. But I think it does it very nicely.
Well, we move on from that, and
Yeah.
um, It's a Bug's Life, for whatever reason, is being pulled out of the tree, and instead we're going to get Zootopia, Better Together,
Mm-hmm.
which is going to happen under the tree. I'm not entirely sure it's a good idea because the whole point of the tree of life was supposed to be like, all the bugs are under the tree in the dirt and stuff, but yeah,
Yeah.
that's
Yeah, and the
happening.
Bugs Life, that was an amazing show. Kids were always screaming. It was just so much fun. Um, the
Then
the
we're
show
getting
was
two. Sorry,
amazing.
I
Yeah,
was going to
no, go
move us
ahead.
on. I know we're running way behind time, but we always are. We're getting two lounges. The first one is going to be at Spaceship Earth and already exists actually, and
Mm-hmm.
is going to be the. I don't know if it got a name, but it's going to be basically based on the Phoenicians, which is kind of loosely kind of cool.
Okay.
You can
Very
watch
loosely themed.
very loosely themed. You can see, however, out the window in the concept art, you can see certainly the fireworks show in the distance, and you can see the new plaza where they have artists playing. So it's just an upcharge place. Like it's more places spending money. They're also going to build
Hmm.
a Pirates of the Caribbean themed tavern at the Magic Kingdom, which is kind of funny because they originally decided they were never going to serve alcohol in
Yeah,
the
in the
Magic
park, in the
Kingdom.
Magic Kingdom
And
Park. Yeah.
yeah, and all of a sudden we're getting a Pirates Tavern, so I can imagine that's going to work out just about as
Well,
well as you expect it to.
alcoholic drinks sell for a lot in the Disney park, so they just thought money.
Yeah,
And yeah,
get
that
drunk
was
like a
pretty much
pirate.
it.
It does look good. I mean,
Exactly.
don't get me wrong, it does look good, and I'm always
Oh no,
somewhat
no, it looks amazing. The tavern looks very good compared. I mean, if you compare it to the Phoenician's lounge, it
yeah.
looks amazing.
Very quickly, Test Track is also being reimagined again. I would imagine it's just another skin that's getting flung over the top of the same ride for about the eighth time. So I don't, unless you have something, I think it's pretty much the same ride all over again.
Well, they're bringing back some of the old concepts from World of Motion, which is very nice, and they're remaking the entire entrance area, which looks like a permanent construction zone. So it if you watch if you get the concept art there, you can see the new entrance, and it looks a lot better than what's there currently, and the inside should get a complete reskin. So ditching the whole Tron aesthetic now that they have a real Tron ride at the Magic Kingdom. They'll bring back a couple of the older concepts, and I think that's very cool.
And it'll still be broken most of the day.
Probably
Um,
will, yeah.
the ride system isn't getting any younger. So we transition from that to some very exciting news. We've
Hmm.
got Monsters Inc. Land coming with the first ever suspended door coaster, which actually is, as a concept, that one really tickled me. That's the one that when I seen it, I thought that's really exciting.
Yeah, I agree. Um, so correct me if I'm wrong, but there have been rumors for at least a decade of a door coaster coming to the Disney parks.
Hmm.
Um, and this is indeed awfully exciting. There's a counterpoint to the entire land, and that is where the land's going to actually be built. But as a land, the Monsters Inc. land will truly be, I believe, an amazing little spot to be. And I'm very excited because when you watch Monsters Inc., there's no way you don't think to yourself that would work super well as a roller coaster attraction in the Disney parks.
Hmm.
It just makes sense. And yeah, so those are my pretty much my thoughts on it. So I'm very excited for it.
There's quite a lot of fighting about this just now, though, isn't there? Like, there's some people think it's
Yes,
going to
it
replace
is.
the Muppets. Some people think it's going to replace Rock and Roller Coaster. I think my favorite one that I seen was that it would fit in that sort of backyard area down where the Little Mermaid was. I
Yes,
think with the
animation
Star Wars.
courtyard.
Yeah, I think that's probably
Animation
the
courtyard.
best
Yeah.
look. If I
Well,
was
that would
picking
be the
somewhere,
best. Yeah. hmm That would be it. Yeah, for sure.
that's where I would put it. But I mean,
Yeah,
I
the only problem with that is that there's not enough space in the back. So there's a lot of offices where people still do work. So those come from the Disney MGM studios or early days of the park.
did we
And
not
those
see a
offices
rumor though that people are being kicked
yes, we
out?
did. Yes, so one of the supposed workers that work there just said they were getting evicted and sent somewhere else. Of
Now,
course, that's not confirmed,
the one thing I
but
would say about that is you find this with Walt Disney World rumors that a lot of people claim to be staff and a lot of people claim to be cast
mhm.
members and a lot of people claim to know things, and often it's not true. And Disney certainly are known for being efficient with their spending. So I'm not too sure.
Mhm.
But the park does need more capacity, so it doesn't seem likely that Rock and Roller Coaster's coming out. So I think you can score that one off. The Muppets doesn't
Yeah.
draw a crowd, so
No,
as much as
but
everybody,
it adds a lot of capacity and needed capacity to the park because you cannot just have big ticket rides, and the park has a lot of big ticket rides and not a lot to do in between the big ticket rides. And
Correct.
I think
Yeah,
Muppets,
no.
first of all, it was the last film, the last project Jim Henson worked on, and just on that, I think it deserves to stay. But then it's also the only location in the Disney parks where you can see the Muppets. And the Muppets,
Yeah.
you know, there hasn't been a lot of projects in the past years, but the
I didn't
Muppets
think
is a big IP. It
I
still
didn't
is a
think
big
I'd
IP.
trigger you. I didn't think I'd trigger you on the Muppets, but here we go.
No,
Um, the jo-
I'm not a huge fan of the Muppets either. I like them, but I'm not just. I just think there's so many better options on where to build it, and
you're getting it.
getting rid of the Muppets would be a mistake.
You're getting it here first. Like Bernardo is a Muppets fan, a huge Muppets fan. What was it? What was I going to say? The door coaster. I think one thing that maybe people need to rein their expectations in is this does not seem to be from the model that we've seen. It doesn't seem to be a massive roller coaster. It seems like
Hmm.
you'll. I think less of it's going to be on the coaster elements and more of it's going to be on the show elements of buzzing in and out scenes. It doesn't to
Yep.
me look as though you're going to get. This is not going to be like a massive coastery coaster. I think this coaster is going to be, and given the it's for Monsters Inc. I think it's going to be a kid coaster.
Yeah, I don't
Um,
think it's going to be huge on the thrills level. So definitely
mhm.
not something comparable to Rock and Roller Coaster, which I mean,
Yeah,
Rock and Roller Coaster is just on the side of it, so it wouldn't
I
make
see. It's
sense
quite.
even.
I think it'll be slightly more exhilarating than the flyer things at Jurassic Park
Oh
in
yeah, yeah,
Universal.
Jurassic
It's
Flyers,
good.
I
Yeah,
think
it's going to
that's
be
the
more
name.
exhilarating than that, but I
Yeah, I
think
think so too.
it's going to be less of a roller coaster and more of an experience, the ride,
Yeah,
which is
yeah, yeah, yeah.
fine. And
Yeah, I
then
think so.
we'll go from one big controversy over where they're going to build the Monsters Inc. thing to where we absolutely know they're going to build the new Cars Land in Frontierland,
Hmm.
which has got two attractions, not just one, but two attractions in
Yeah.
Frontierland, and they are on their way to get rid of the rivers of America.
Yes, they are. So, if you like the Rivers of America and Tom Sawyer's Island, I'd say goodbye soon.
Yes.
Um, uh, so I'll just start by saying I think that these environmental locations are very important in Disney parks. I love to just hang out in the Frontierland in Paris with the rivers of the Far West. I think it's an amazing place. I don't think the Magic Kingdom does it that well. I think there's a lot of missed opportunities there. However, it's still somewhere that you can explore and just wander, and that's important in the Disney parks. Now, that said, I am very excited for the Cars Frontier Land, which is coming soon. And so, as you said, two attractions as well. So it's not just this one attraction mini land. And one of the other things and I've said this already, the frontier lands we see in the Disney parks don't represent the American frontier very well. They represent the mining towns that existed in the American frontier, but the American frontier went from the north to the south. There were a lot of different environments. There were mountains and big plains and deserts and
Boats.
bayous. So yeah, so there was
Yeah.
so much, and I think that as we can see in the concept art, we see snowy tops and mountains and a lot of what I think should be added to Frontierland. Now, my problem with it is the Cars IP the better fit for this theme? Probably not. But I think it'll be amazing either way.
Well, Disney have agreed with you because they have decided that the rivers of America are not paying their way, and that prime real
Hmm.
estate could be used better. And I think that one of the things that potentially they've had to think about on this is if you're putting, if you take Big Thunder Mountain and you take Splash Mountain or Tiana's Bayou Adventure just now, you've got the problem that that's a huge bottleneck in the park, and it's quite you know you have to walk all the way around there, and then there's no easy way into like Fantasyland or to come back through
Hmm.
Liberty. And I think that there's the possibility that this land just eases a lot of that congestion and takes an awful lot of that locking up there. You also have the problem when a parade rolls through. If you get a parade or anything like that coming through Frontierland, it shuts off half of Frontierland while people can't get past. And
Hmm.
that I don't think Disney ever really liked that they kind of lost an access route to their own park, and they've tried really hard with some of the like the riverside walks and that to fix it. But the problem is there's no if you're trying to get to Splash Mountain or come from Splash Mountain and the parade is happening, you have to wait at some point. There's no way
Yeah.
around that. So they've
Mhm.
always had that slight issue, and it only lasts the 15 minutes it takes to get the parade out the gate, but it does happen. So I think they've done a little bit there. I think it's going to be a really nice land. I'm not too bothered about how they integrate it because I don't think they'll do a poor job. They've always done quite a good job, and the Magic Kingdom. The Magic Kingdom has many transitions, and I think arguably the harder transition in the Magic Kingdom, but they do it very well, is they
Mhm.
transitioned from Tomorrowland into New Fantasyland, and they handle that well.
They
So
did, yeah.
I'm not I'm not worried because I think that's probably the harder transition, and they've done that. Um, and then after, I'm excited for there being two cars rides because it's nice. They've kind of said we want a coaster type ride and like for adults, and then we've got like a kids one as well. And I think that's really important that they're addressing two different markets there.
Yeah,
Um,
exactly. And the big ride is, let's call it that. It's not going to be a clone of the California Adventures cars. I
Radiator
don't
Springs
remember the
Racers.
name. Yes, exactly. So it's not going to be a clone. I think it's they're going to use the same system. It's still unknown. But it looks like a more thrilling version of that ride. And
Hmm.
just not having a clone already gets my expectations a lot higher. And I think it's gonna work out very nicely, honestly. The second
I
kids
think
ride,
so
I
too.
think it's going to be similar. I'm not sure what the second kids ride is going to be like. I think it's perhaps going to be similar to the also in Radiator Springs. They have that Mater's rolling something something. I don't know what the name is. So it's
I'm
like
not
those.
convinced because if you look at the
No.
concept art, it might be a smaller version of the first ride, not doing the same thing, but it looks like some sort of race system.
Hmm.
I'm not
So
convinced the
maybe
concept
I,
art.
I
So
remember. Yeah, I remember
I was going
someone
to say
saying it could be something like the Aquatopia in Tokyo Disney, except without water. That could
yeah,
probably work out very nicely.
yeah. So moving on,
Yeah,
um,
go ahead.
I'll do really quickly. They're putting Disney: The Tale of Moana in production on the Disney Treasure, which is one of their boats, and they're doing Disney Hercules is going to the Disney Destiny. So these are stage shows on board boats. I have nothing to add to that other than cool. Um, but I think the bigger news and the most expensive news of the whole thing was that they announced yet another four boats.
Yeah, that was pretty crazy. I was not expecting four new boats to be announced like that,
The
but they're
truth is,
really going
all their
full into it.
yeah, all their boats are full all the time. Um, their boats are full all the time. They need more boats. They're planning on positioning boats around the world. So you're going to have your Asian boat, you're going to have your European boats, you're going to have your
Hmm.
North American, your South American boats. So boats they're going all in on because there's a lot of money to be made on a boat. And they can get money on the boat, they can get money on the boat island. So there's a lot more boats coming. There's going to be 13 in total. I think probably their oldest boats might get pulled for a little bit of refurb. Some people were saying that the Magic and such are now 25 years old, so they're a bit they're a bit old. But the one
Hmm.
thing I would say about them being 25 years old, they're still mechanically sound, and Disney doesn't
Yeah.
work its boats very hard. So unlike, maybe MSC or Costa or someone who drives their boat around the whole world, Disney just potters about in the same, like for the most part. And I know it does, it's Northern Europe cruises, but for the most part, they just sort of potter about not too far from land, and they go out to their little.
Yeah, yeah.
They don't go far. Like I'm not convinced they'll retire the boats terribly early because they don't. They still have. They all have the Disney Magic has the same design as like the later boats, like the Treasure and such. It's just a smaller version, and
Hmm.
mechanically they're not breaking down. So there's no risk to Disney, and they're just. I think they could probably potter around the islands for another decade at least before they have to pull those boats.
Yeah,
I
I
think
think so. I think
it's
so. Yeah.
there's not. I don't think there's a huge impetus to get rid of those boats. So I
Yeah,
think for a while they're going to go up, and then
they're going
um,
to
um,
stick here for a while. Yeah. Hmm.
yeah, I don't think the boats are going anywhere. Then we're getting Grogu in a space boat. So Mando and Grogu will join Smuggler's Run at Galaxy's Edge, which again is not huge news, but is kind of exciting
No,
that
but
they've
it's
added
like
them.
finally they're adding new missions to the ride. That's what makes Star Tours so good. It's the randomness of the thing, and have I mean it's just two missions, but it's still, and I mean
Mhm.
Grogu and the Mandalorian are amazing. So I think it's gonna revive a bit of that ride actually.
Yeah, no, fully agree.
Yeah.
Um, Big news for Shanghai. They're getting a Spider-Man coaster, which is terribly
Hmm.
exciting. I want a
It
Spider-Man
is.
coaster, but
I
I
do too.
I don't know if that's the most exciting bit or the fact that Hong Kong is going to get a Tower of Terror clone type thing that's Spider-Man.
Yeah, that was just out of this world. I was not expecting it. Because the rumors and the announcement was that Hong Kong was getting the same attraction as California Adventures, so
Mhm.
the ET Kid Adventures ride. But now they're getting a Tower of Terror Spider-Man mix, and it just sounds
It's
crazy, and I have no idea what to expect from this
I
ride, and that's
love it.
just amazing.
I love it.
I really do, I really do, and
Um,
and it's crazy they're building another Tower of Terror. It's been a while since they've built those, so it'll be
I'm
very,
already
very
kind of
interesting
like
to know.
I'm already jealous and like, can we have that in a little bit of time? Like, can we have the Spider-Man
Yeah,
overhaul? Like it.
yeah,
I don't know. It seems cooler than the. Mind you, we've got web sling. Mind you, web slingers is right next door to it. It works so well. You could move the entrance.
yeah. You could.
Um,
I mean, I
Maybe.
personally
By
love
the
the
way,
Twilight Zone.
you know how they're doing the cover. You know how they're doing the cover of like the the outdoor queue of
Hmm.
Tower of Terror. What if that's just like a whole sham, and that's the realignment of the entrance for a Spider-Man Tower of
So this is
Terror?
the second Fantasmic segment we have on this Discord podcast. Okay,
That's what we're going to
that
call them, phantasmic segments.
this has got to be a
Move it,
record.
moving on, and again, a really good idea. They're adding two new rides to Avengers Campus at Disneyland, which absolutely they 100% should do, and
Hmm.
both of them excite me quite a lot. So,
Yeah,
um,
they're doubling the footprint of Avengers Campus, and I think Avengers Campus will truly be transformed into a an amazing land.
yeah,
So you were saying what the two rides? One of them is going to be a huge e-ticket attraction. That's the big e-ticket they've been teasing for years now, and it's
mhm.
going to be called what's the name?
Infinity
Avengers
Defense.
Infinity Defense. So that's a big name, and I think they can. I hope they can, you know, have the name stand out and
And
kind of
the
work
rumor
well.
is the rumor is on this, is it not that it's going to be very similar in style to the Transformers and the Spider-Man ride at
Yes, it
Universal?
is. It is. It is.
So
Uh,
they're both fantastic. So I just think it'd be nice to see an even newer version of that. And
yeah,
then the
and the
second,
new Peter Pan in Fantasy Springs has the same ride system, and I think it's the new ride will get a lot from that. I'm not sure. Let's see.
um,
But yeah, you were saying.
can't wait to try that.
Yeah.
The other one is we're getting the Stark Flight Lab, and I'm very excited about this because I like the Sum of All Thrills attraction. The what are they called? Kuka arms or something.
Hook arms, yeah, yeah.
Love them, and I think that it's just gonna be fantastic to see them used in yet another park for another. Every time they're used, they're fantastic. So
And that ride just looks crazy. It's just so strange to see a Disney park
I
do that,
also
and I
like
think it's gonna work out very nicely.
they've also done it on a sort of track, a sort of rail, and
Mm-hmm.
it's in a space that they've not shown it. I think it's going to be a little bit of VR, and the only reason I say that is the space looks
Mm.
kind of bland, so I think there'll be a bit of VR introduced at the end. Um,
Mm. Could be.
and I think the cool thing about it is that if it is something like VR, it's infinitely reprogrammable, and they'll be able to do quite a bit with it. So
Yeah.
I think there's a good possibility this could be really, really cool. Moving on, because we do have to move on. The last bit of the night that they sort of put out there, and probably a bit we might spend a couple of minutes on,
Yes.
was Villains Land coming to the Magic Kingdom.
Yes. So that's very, very exciting. Reportedly, it's going to be found so between where the new Cars part of Frontierland is going and Fantasyland. So it's
Hmm.
connecting that, as you were saying, that side of the park that's kind of, a dead end. Um, but
And
the land
it's
itself.
get sorry,
No, no, go ahead.
I have a couple of thoughts. I have a few thoughts. It's
Yeah,
getting its own castle, and if you look at how the concept art is, it's in like a bowl.
yeah.
So I think it's going to get its own nighttime spectacular as well. I think it's going to get its own.
Ooh.
I think it's going to be really well themed, and it's going to be, especially when you look at you've got the Maleficent dragon on the hill, and I think you're going to
Mm-hmm.
get your own nighttime entertainment in that land. Like I think it's going to be very distinct from what's happening elsewhere. I think
Yeah,
you're going to enter this land very much like Harry Potter's like Galaxy's Edge and kind of like Harry Potter, you're going to really, when you go in this land, I don't think you're going to see anything but the villain's land.
yeah, and I think, as you were saying, the nighttime spectacular is actually an amazing point because it could easily work the fireworks from Happily Ever After or whatever the show is
Mhm.
that's playing into a show here. So similar to what they're doing in Disneyland, where you have the main show happening on the castle, but you also have it playing in the rivers of America, and then now they've also started doing it, a special Star Wars kind of gathering using the same fireworks. So all at the same time, you have the same fireworks with different shows happening in the same park, and I think that could very easily be done here. And I think that's an
I
amazing
think
thought. You just
that I think that's probably what's happening. The
yeah, yeah,
layout of the
that could be
land just
amazing. Hmm.
it just when you look at it, the bowl and the kind of
Yeah,
you're going
yeah,
to be isolated in here, and you're probably going to enter it much like Harry Potter Land or Galaxy's Edge. You're not going to see anything else. I'm convinced
yeah, yeah,
this is
yeah,
going to
yeah.
have its own nighttime sort of spectacular. The
Yeah, and
second,
and the location. Let me just say this, just when the nighttime part. The location, it will be closer to the back of the park, and depending on how they or orientate it, it could be that the castle we see in the concept art is right in front of where the fireworks shoot. So
mhm.
that could be amazing. It really
the
could.
other thing, the other thing, we're looking at two major attractions, um, which both seem to be roller coasters. So there's one that I'm not sure if they're together or not, or but they seem different because the ride vehicles seem different. The one at the back left, which looks like an RMC conversion. Now, obviously, there's no
Yeah,
There's no Woody there, so there's no RMC conversion coming. However,
yeah.
it does look like we may get one of the very first RMC Woodies that come with the metal bars and stuff. So I think
Mhm.
it would be really nice to see Disney bring in an RMC roller coaster. Like I would be very interested to see one.
Yeah.
Um, I'm not sure it'll be as terrifying as something like Gwazi or anything, but I think it would be absolutely fantastic in the sense that it would just be spectacular in a Disney park for the first time. And then the second one seems to be some sort of underwater coaster or some sort of glass coaster, or it links around water and it's
Hmm.
in the foreground. Again, very excited about that. I'm excited about the merchandise. I'm excited about the nighttime sort of lighting, the show. I mean, it's terribly exciting, isn't it?
It is. It is. It's very exciting, and we don't know a lot about the rides or what the land's going to offer. But I could easily see it have the big roller coaster, as you said, and then a huge e-ticket,
Hmm.
dark ride behind the castle or something like that. We see all those mountains in the background. That would easily be how they hide a huge show building, um, like what they did with Ratatouille with the fake
Hmm.
buildings. But again, this is they've said this is not blue sky or anything. It kind of looks like blue sky, maybe not. Well, it's in active development, so it wouldn't be blue sky, but still the concept art is very blue sky-ish.
Yeah,
Um, but it transmits the image and the thoughts behind the land very well, and this probably is what I'm one of the announcements I'm most excited for, and
yeah.
is it's going to compete very well with Universal Classic Monsters Land coming
Hmm.
to Epic Universe next year. So this D23, I feel like definitely was a very big response to Universal and their huge theme park opening next year.
Yeah.
Um, and once again, it was a huge D23, and one we haven't seen ever, filled with announcements for all corners of the world. And yes, it was amazing. It was a long night, but a very good night.
Yeah. I think if we're honest and we add up the kind of money that's being spent here, so I'd done a little thing where I sort of put prices on things, and people will disagree with me, and that's fine. But
Mhm.
I kind of priced it up because I thought we need to have a look at this. So I'll run through the prices just so that people have an idea of what they think, and you can 100% think I'm wrong. That's not a problem.
Yeah.
But what I've done for most of these things is tried to Google the last time they were done and then add on a little bit of inflation. And that was kind of how I tried to. And for some of them, I just put more money than they will cost because that's just how Disney runs. So
Yeah.
I've put for the new nighttime parade at the Magic Kingdom, though, we have about 150 million. They've spent about 50 million on the Tiana refurb, 10 million on the Pirates Tavern Lounge, which is probably a bit high. Cars Land plus two attractions will come in at about 500 million. And the
Mhm.
Villains Kingdom is about another 500 million. That's assuming they're both roller coasters and don't get much. They're not terribly well themed. They're just themed roller coasters because they
Yeah,
typically
yeah, yeah.
keep in mind Velocicoaster, which is considered one of the greatest roller coasters on Earth, only costs 65 million.
Yeah,
So
it's pretty crazy.
yeah,
Pretty crazy.
Disney's Adventure World, The Lion King will be about 500 million for the land. Frozen backstage and infrastructure is about another 500 million. The lake show, the infrastructure, the restaurant, and the flat ride at the front will probably cost about another 500 million. Now, that one we're pretty confident on because that has been announced by Disneyland Paris. So they announced
Mhm.
1.5 billion split over three lands, or sorry, one expansion and two pads was going to be 1.5 million. It didn't include the Avengers Campus stuff, which was priced separately. So we know the price of all that. Disneyland Paris, the Newcastle show costs about £60 million. People fight with me about this, but the infrastructure is mostly already there. This isn't
Mhm.
terribly new, and as much as projectors and things cost money, they're not that expensive. Like they're, like assuming they
Yeah.
need, I don't know, 10 projectors each side, you probably still haven't spent £1 million because they just don't cost as much as people think. Um,
Yeah, yeah.
Disneyland, Walt Disney's animatronic and show building. I've put 10 million in there. The Tiana refurb at 50 million there, which was announced that the two coasts were getting Tiana for a cost of about 100 million. So I've split it down the middle. Um, Mando at Smuggler's Run for Disneyland's also been announced. I don't think we've mentioned that, but it's also been announced for both the Smuggler's Runs, and I've put 5 million a piece there. Test Track for 50 million, Spaceship Earth Lounge at 15 million, although that's really high for what's effectively a bar. Um, Encanto at Tropical America is 447 million, but there's an awful lot of land grading that has to happen there. Indiana Jones, the retheme, 50 million. Zootopia, 5 million. Spider Man at Shanghai, 175 million. 175 million more at Hong Kong. Hollywood Studios Monsters Inc. is probably going to run us about 465, with Mando coming at another 5. So that tells it. Oh, sorry, DCA. 650 million for Avatar, 300 million for Coco, 250 million for Infinity Defense, and probably 100 million for Stark Flight Lab. The reason Avatar is so expensive isn't actually the ride, it's probably that there's an awful lot of work to do to reclaim that land and
Yeah,
retheme it.
yeah, yeah.
It's not cheap to do that. There's a billion each on each of the new boats, and then they're spending, still another billion on the Treasure, the Destiny, the Adventure, and the boat they've not named yet. And Lookout K, they announced 400 million worth of works. So interestingly,
Mhm.
Disney Cruise Line got £9 billion spent, $9 billion spent on it, which is more than anywhere else. It's more than everything else. So the interesting thing is, the parks and experiences, 9 billion, the majority of the money was spent on new cruise ships. So take that, parks fans. Um, that absolutely is true. I mean, they've basically announced the figures on the cruise line, so that's what it is. Disney's Adventure World comes in second, so Paris actually is probably up the top with 1.5 billion committed spend on it. DCA comes in a nice third with about 1.3 billion spent in it. The Magic Kingdom at 1.2 billion spent on it. Animal Kingdom is getting about half a billion spent in it, the same as about Hollywood Studios, and then everything else is sharing the remaining amount. So there's a lot of money being spent.
There
Fourteen and a
is,
half
yes.
billion. So
At
one thing I
least,
wanted to,
let's say at
yeah,
least. So the prices could possibly go up, not down.
and they
It's
will,
Disney. Well, yeah, they
they
could
will.
and
But
they will go up.
if we take the 60 billion that was announced, though, this is only a
Mhm.
committed spend of about 15 to 20 of it. So let's round up and let's say it was good call. This is the 20 billion. There's still probably another couple of years, like in 2 years, we're probably going to get treated to another decent amount of money coming.
Yeah, I think we will.
And I think that seems to
I
be the
think
way
we
Disney
will.
are doing it now.
At
The
least
Magic
with Paris,
Kingdom,
right?
yeah. I think Paris, the Magic Kingdom, and DCA are going to be the flagships now. I think they're going to get a lot of money spent.
Well, I hope so. But you never know. Actually, with Disney, either way, we Disneyland Paris got a lot of time compared to other D23 expos. So, but I think the tide's changing a bit. I've been saying this for some time, but I think DLP is getting more and more attention, and I'm very
Well,
very glad.
I got sent this. I got sent this message by Caroline, who writes for Forbes. Caroline Reed, who writes for
Hmm.
Forbes. And I want to read an extract of her. It was the penultimate paragraph in her article that she's just put out.
Yeah.
She starts off by saying that Disneyland Paris actually had according to the TEA figures, Disneyland Paris had its best year ever with 16.1 million visitors, which is up zero point 0.6 on
Hmm.
any other year in the past. So
Yep.
it was now its highest audience ever.
And
Um,
let me just add that the guests are paying a lot more than what they were when the numbers that they passed happened. So in 2012, I think was the biggest year for Disneyland Paris behind the last year. They had those so many discounts and
mhm.
free tickets, and the annual passes were cheap, cheap, cheap compared to what they are now. So people are paying a lot more than they were, and
And this is this,
there's more people coming, so it's
and
pretty
this is
crazy.
what she's put. I mean, she's put
Yep.
the opening Avengers campus cast purple spell in Disneyland Paris. Its revenue rose nearly threefold to a record 2.6 billion in the year September 30, 2022.
Hmm.
It outstripped 57.8 increase in costs, leaving the company with an extra 50 million in operating profit, its highest in a decade. And then she goes on to say, like every good Hollywood tale, there has to be a sequel, and that came earlier this year when we revealed that in 2023, Disneyland Paris made a record operating profit of $188 million and a half dollars, $188.5 million dollars, as
Yep.
revenue rose 23.5% to an all-time high of $3 billion. This
Hmm.
represented a staggering 56.6% of the international revenue generated by Disney's entire theme parks and cruises division last year.
Yes. So as we know, Disneyland Paris has a very, let's say, unique way of handling their revenues. They do not, well, the profits don't really, um, uh,
Yeah.
you know what I'm saying? The profits are not the best way to look at how much money Disneyland Paris is making, because in France they have to pay a lot of taxes. So they
Mhm.
kind of try to reduce
And
the
spend
profit
it in
in the
America.
books. Yes, exactly. So Disneyland Paris is one of the only, I think, I think it's the only fully Disney owned resort that pays operating fees, licensing fees, and all other kinds of taxes to the Walt Disney Company.
Yeah.
So Disneyland Paris is a big cash cow. Probably not as big, and obviously not as big as the Walt Disney World Resort or Disneyland, but it still generates a lot of money. And this is something I've been discussing with a lot of folks online that just cannot wrap their mind around it. That Paris is making money, and so
3.1
it makes
billion last
sense.
year.
Exactly. So it makes sense they want to invest a small portion of that to make sure more people come to the parks because it's getting more expensive. And if there's nothing new, they'll try to go elsewhere. So, and I think with Avengers Campus, which opened 2 years ago, I think it was a big success. And I think Disney realized that they can once again invest in the Parisian resort. And that's what, once again, I think is happening right now.
Well, I think with that, we have now come
Yeah.
to an hour and 45 minutes. So I think we're going to wrap up the podcast there. Um,
Yes.
it has been an absolute pleasure to go through D23 and discuss it in some incredible detail, as we do on this podcast
Hmm.
all the time. You can catch the podcast at any time on YouTube, and you can catch it on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, all good podcast platforms. And if they were not on it, they're not good. Um, Bernardo does some fantastic videos that go into the detail and show you the plans and stuff. And you should really go and watch them. I am lazy and do nothing on social media. We have a fantastic team in the Discord, and I need to say thank you to everybody who's on the team, because we just have
Big
phenomenal
thanks.
amount of stuff coming
Mhm.
in. We have a phenomenal community as well. I want to say thank you to all the community because it was fantastic to enjoy D23 with you all and stay up till early in the morning. There are some
Mhm.
cool things coming, like for example, a lot of people don't know this, but Space Mountain's been broken all week. It looks like they've snapped the
Yes.
cable again. It's been shut now as we record for 150 hours. But podcast listeners, thanks to Catology, will be one of the first to know when it comes back online because in our Discord we have little live notifications that tell us when things come back online and how long they've been down for. So we've got cool stuff
Hmm.
like that, and I have it's a sneak audio peek, but there is a news tracker, and it basically tracks all the projects that are happening in Walt Disney Studios and happening in Disneyland and happening, and I'm pretty sure we're going to expand it to be everywhere. And there's cool trackers that I think we're going to make public. I'm really sorry if we're not going to make them public. I've just announced them public, but they're really cool. And like Kidology's put so much hard work into like bringing everything that is actual fact to be a factual
Hmm.
tracker so that it's not just us making stuff up. They're not phantasmic moments. Um, so thank you everybody for joining us here on the podcast. We will be
Thank you very much.
podcasting again. Disney will be out to make me be a liar again tomorrow. So thank you to everybody who makes this magical community happen. And I will catch you on the next one. And Bernardo, now you have to beat that.
Yeah, I'm just gonna say thank you everyone for everything. I mean, you really stole every word from my mouth. There's no way I can beat that. So yeah, thank you everyone, and thank you once again for being here with us on the podcast. And we'll see
And if
you
you're
next time.
and if you're not if you're somehow listening to this podcast but not in the Discord, please click the link down below and join us.
Oh yeah, we're nice people. Okay, we don't bite. Come join us.
Thank you and good night.
Bye bye.
Bye.